Welcome back to the Adam Schefter podcast. We have entered the month of June, typically one of the slowest months on the NFL calendar, and yet the NFL continues to produce news and headlines and will throughout the month, most notably with the Pittsburgh Steelers scheduled to open their mandatory minicamp June 10th to the 12th. There is plenty to go over today when we will be joined by the reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse, who had 66 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 18 quarterback hits, and 75-plus pressures as a rookie standout for the Los Angeles Rams, who leave this month to do an organized team activity or a mini camp or whatever they call it in Hawaii. We've never seen a team go to Hawaii before. We'll get into that in this podcast. We'll discuss that with Jared Verse. But before we get to the NFL's reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year, we first get to our MVP, the man who co-hosts the Pat McAfee Show, our friend, our colleague, Ty Schmit, who hosts this week's Six Pack.
Thank you very much, Shefty. Great to be back with you as always. I think, calling me the MVP is maybe a little, short-sighted, but I appreciate the compliment nonetheless. You mentioned it. We're in June. Anytime, we do a Pat show every single day, obviously, and I don't want to say it's the dog days of summer, but you mentioned it. The NFL, compared to how it usually is, it dries up. The stuff you're getting excited about now pales into comparison to what we'll have in a couple months. But like you said, there's still definitely stuff to talk about. And some interesting things at that. So let's hop right into it and kind of, check off some of the kind of remaining things that we need to cover. And let's move into topic number 1 this week, which is a lot of trade talk and rumors going on with Kyle Pitts. And I feel like that has happened quite a bit over the last 2 years. But as of right now, what is going on with Kyle Pitts and Kirk Cousins in Atlanta?
Well, Atlanta's a hot spot right now. And we start with Kyle Pitts, who has not been practicing with what the Falcons say is an unspecified medical condition. Well, that unspecified medical condition, I'm told, is a strained muscle in his foot. That's what it is. So he has not been practicing due to some kind of muscle issue with his foot, a strain. I may not have it exactly right, but I know that I am pretty close here based on what I was told. So he's sitting out. There also have been teams that have approached the Falcons about trading for Kyle Pitts. Now, I don't think the Falcons are looking to deal him, but they're not turning away the calls either. So if there were a team that were willing to give up enough to get him, I think that they could be enticed into trading the former top 5 overall selection to another team. The issue there is he's due $11 million in salary this year. And I don't know that there are a whole lot of teams lining up to pay the Falcons what it would take and to pay Kyle Pitts what it would take when he's entering the last year of his contract. So we'll continue to hear Kyle Pitts noise. There will continue to be speculation. But for now, we just know he's not practicing due to a muscle strain in his foot. There have been teams who have called. There aren't any trades close on the horizon. And the Falcons, I think, will continue taking calls, but it's going to be a tough deal to pull off. And I think it's similar with Kirk Cousins, who's due all that guaranteed money, $27.5 million this upcoming season. Falcons want to see what's going on with his situation, where Kirk Cousins could get interesting. We're taping this Tuesday morning, June 3rd. A week from now, as we mentioned, the Pittsburgh Steelers open their mandatory minicamp. We're waiting any day now, we would think, for a decision word from Aaron Rodgers about whether or not and when he will sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers have said all along they believe he's going to sign there. We've heard their owner, Art Rooney, come out and say basically he expects Aaron Rodgers to sign with Pittsburgh. And with the Steelers having their mandatory minicamp next week, that would figure to be the time. But here's where it gets interesting. And again, we could get the Rodgers decision later today, nullifying these comments. But if he drags his feet more, if he doesn't show up for that mandatory minicamp, and if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, don't you at that point in time have to have a conversation about whether you should explore trading for Kirk Cousins and lobbing a call into the Atlanta Falcons to make a move there, being that Aaron Rodgers, as of this taping, has not committed to coming to Pittsburgh, even though we all think he's going there, even though they all think he's going there. It hasn't happened yet. So we'll watch Kyle Pitts, we'll watch Kirk Cousins, but nothing seems close at the moment with either player. And both players right now seem connected and committed to Atlanta for at least the time being.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is an interesting one, especially where he was drafted and kind of what was expected of him, his physical, stature and his measurables and all the stuff he did at the combine. I mean, he's a freak athlete. I always wondered when I started hearing this trade talk, we always talk about new scenery serving a player very well, but you wonder if they don't want to get a full season with, Kyle Pitts having a new quarterback, having a young quarterback. I mean, I think that makes a little bit more sense. And like you said, $11 million is a lot of money. If he were to get traded, what kind of return do you think the Falcons would be asking more, or is it mostly a salary thing?
No, I don't think that they would be willing to give him up unless they got ample compensation, whatever that may be. I would think, I'm guessing hypothetically, a third round pick. That's what they would be looking for in my mind. In my mind.
Okay. I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. And then on the Cousins front, I think you're right. I mean, you would know better than I would, and maybe some of our Steelers guys in here. I think everyone still assumes that Rodgers is going to be there, but it seems like each passing day, it's like maybe he won't be, maybe he's not going to play there. And I always kind of thought the Mason Rudolph stuff, them saying that they're good with him being their starting quarterback, that was kind of just posturing. You have to say that at this point. Cousins with the Arthur Smith connection, that would certainly make sense if in a week or 10 days or so, there's no movement on the Rodgers front.
By the way, Arthur Smith connection to Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts.
Exactly.
Kyle Pitts. Both. So maybe they can make it 2-for-1, to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh gives up a pick and the Steelers get both players. Now, I don't think Pittsburgh could afford both players, but that would be interesting to think about as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. We saw you reported on the Jonnu Smith stuff, how the Steelers were maybe interested in him. So maybe they are in the tight end market. Maybe they do give they have a bunch of picks too. Maybe there is a package deal. So I guess that'll be, something to keep our eyes on. But again, it's kind of a null point until Rodgers makes a decision, or at least the Steelers force his hand, and say, hey, we need a decision now. And it doesn't seem like they've been willing to do that.
Hey, Ty, if and when we're doing this podcast 1 week from now and Rodgers still hasn't given the Steelers a decision, I think it gets a little bit more interesting.
I think you're probably right. So at least we have a little bit of a clock on that, and we'll keep an eye on the Kyle Pitts and Kirk Cousins situations in Atlanta. Let's move on to topic number 2 of this week's Six-Pack, Shefty. We know James Cook is looking for a new deal in Buffalo. He talked about it all offseason. He was unhappy. He took the Bills out of his header and his social media profile on Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. He's not there. Is that something or nothing?
I think it's something. I think it's definitely something, and I think it bears watching because you've got a guy who's unhappy with his contractual situation, who, as you outlined there, Ty, has basically disconnected himself from the organization and the city, put his house up for sale. I saw James Cook at game 1 of the Knicks-Pacers in Madison Square Garden. He was seated almost next to me. And I said, hey, you got NFL Films coming into Buffalo this summer for Hard Knocks. I'm sure there's a lot of people there that need places to stay. You could rent out your house there to the staffers in NFL Films. It's pretty easy. That's an easy transaction. But I don't think we'll be seeing him in Buffalo anytime soon. And again, the start of training camp will be the next critical moment. If they don't have a deal done there by then, does James Cook show up for training camp? Does he risk the penalties that come along in the collective bargaining agreement if he doesn't show up? But look, we've seen the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason reward Saquon Barkley. We've seen the Baltimore Ravens reward Derrick Henry. We have not seen the Buffalo Bills pay James Cook yet. And James Cook's a valuable member of that offense. But I don't believe that these two sides are anywhere close to a deal at this point in time. And as we enter a critical season for the Buffalo Bills, James Cook is one of the more important players there. And with a deal not on the horizon, that looms as a little storm cloud over the promising season that's ahead for the Buffalo Bills. Now, if he doesn't show up there, what do? Well, they've got Ray Davis, they've got Tyler Johnson, they've got some firepower. They could always add another running back, but that offense certainly will lose something by not having James Cook. And my point here is I don't think the two sides are close now, and I think this is going to take some time to figure out.
Yeah, I think it was 20 million that he was looking for, right? Or at least starting at 20 million. I think
And James Cook's great. He ain't getting 20 million.
exactly. He tweeted that, but he doesn't seem like he's coming off that number. And you mentioned it, Ray Davis was good last year. They have some other guys, but James Cook adds an element to that offense that is completely different than any of those other guys. He was a touchdown machine, and obviously Josh Allen is the guy, but in the playoffs, he was really kind of, that Baltimore game specifically, he was kind of the engine that kept them going. But if he's on 20 million and he's not, willing to get off that, especially with how much money the Bills gave out this offseason. They made a lot of deals. Do you think, are we looking at them potentially trading him or finding a trade partner, a little bit down the road? Or do you think eventually, cooler heads will prevail and they will come to maybe, like give him a little money up front this year or something like that, and then we revisit this later on?
Well, I'll say you raised an interesting point there because the Buffalo Bills went out this offseason and re-signed a whole bunch of their own players. And they'd like to get a deal done with James Cook, but it has to be, in their minds, a fair market deal. James Cook and his camp feel like initially $20 million was the number. We both agree that he's not getting $20 million. So what is the fair number? It's going to be big on his part. Again, it's up for James Cook and his camp to be practical and realistic, and it's up to the Buffalo Bills to stretch themselves and for the two sides to find a meeting ground to make this deal happen and get him back in camp. Again, I think this one's going to go on for a little bit. And I think Ray Davis and Ty Johnson are going to loom as significant figures here for the Buffalo Bills this season. I don't see a solution coming here in the summer break before training camp opens. But as we get closer to camp, the pressure is going to increase on both sides to try to get something done, and we'll see where that goes.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely have to, keep tabs on that because again, if he's either on the trade block or, he's not there, that Buffalo offense looks quite a bit different without James Cook lined up next to Josh Allen. Let's move on to topic number 3 of this week's six-pack, Shefty, and we'll stick with running backs. Saquon Barkley is going to grace the cover of the next Madden game, doing his patented, I don't even know what you want to call it, pirouette, jump backwards hurdle. What do you think this means just in general for the NFL and kind of football in pop culture, I guess, if you will?
I'm always amazed at the reaction that the Madden cover draws. Like when we posted about this on Instagram, on Twitter, on Monday, the amount of engagement, it's off the charts. People really care about this. What's interesting about this is everybody remembers that superhero move that he made last year, the pirouette, as you refer to it as. It was an incredible move. When I see Saquon on the cover of Madden, I know the curse has kind of gone away and didn't mean as much the last few years, but last year, Christian McCaffrey was on the cover, and he played 4 games last year. I know as somebody who drafted him with the number 1 overall pick in my ESPN fantasy draft. Christian McCaffrey, 4 games, tough year, couldn't stay healthy. And there is and has been a running back jinx, believe it or not, for running backs who have appeared on the cover of Madden. If we go back, Christian McCaffrey, the last running backs who appeared, Christian McCaffrey, 4 games last season. Barry Sanders was on the cover, didn't play at all. Peyton Hillis on the cover, 10 games. Sean Alexander, 10 games. I don't know who the last running back to appear on the cover of Madden was that played a full, healthy, productive season. It hasn't happened in a long time.
Eddie George, maybe, but that would have been 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, I just think there's something to it, right? Like these guys that are coming off such great years, they have a big workload. They become even bigger targets. It's not just coincidental that they struggle the next year. Like Saquon is Saquon. He's one of the best players in the National Football League. He's going to be great, but is he going to stay healthy for 17 games? Is he going to be out there the entire time? Being on the cover of Madden, I don't know that it helps it any, but we'll see how it plays out. I think there has been something to being a cover jinx for running backs over time.
Yeah, and I think, people like to, have fun with that and everything, but the proof is kind of in the pudding. Like there is a legitimate, guys get on the cover of Madden, and a lot of times, whether it's just a down year or, getting hurt, like it happens quite a bit. It's happened quite a bit over the last 20 years. So you can kind of, connect the dots and be like, well, maybe this isn't a jinx, whatever it is, weird, feelers out in the universe or whatever what you want to call it. Like it is a thing. It absolutely is a thing.
There's some to it, and we'll see if Saquon is good enough and durable enough to overcome it.
And like you mentioned, he's probably going to take heat regardless because if he doesn't, match what he did last year, if he rushes for 1,300 yards by comparison, people are going to be pissed and say, "Oh, it was a Madden, a Madden jinx." Which
there you go.
That's not necessarily fair, but it is what it is. All right, Shefty, let's move on to topic number 4 of this week's six pack. Kind of shocking to me, I guess maybe not to Lions fans or people who were in the know up there, but Frank Ragnow announced his retirement. One of the best centers in the NFL. Obviously, he has had to deal with so many injuries over the course of his short but brilliant career. But in your opinion, how big of a loss is this for Detroit?
Huge deal. Huge deal for a team that already has lost both its coordinators, for a team that already is trying to overcome the loss of a lot of assistant coaches, for the team that is trying to overcome the loss of certain players. Now, the interior part of the Lions' offensive line is a major question mark coming into the season. Now, we know they're set at tackle. Taylor Decker is going to play left tackle. Penei Sewell is going to play right tackle. That is about as good a tackle tandem as there is in the National Football League. But the interior part of the Lions' offensive line now looms as a question going into the season. Have you ever heard of Christian Mahogany, Ty?
No.
He's the Lions' starting left guard. Tate Rutledge, they drafted this year in the second round. Now, the Lions' drafting record is superb, and they've done a great job at identifying talent. But they obviously knew something about Frank Ragnow possibly walking away because they drafted Tate Rutledge in the second round. He's now penciled in as the replacement for Ragnow starting at center. They have Graham Glasgow at right guard. And so here's this really great team built to win now with question marks. Now, I have no doubt that Tate Rutledge is going to be really good because they drafted him high and they know. So they may be able to pick right back up there. But I don't know how Mahogany and Rutledge and Graham Glasgow are going to gel in the center of the Lions offensive line with new coordinators and new people around. Like there's some questions that this team has to overcome. Now, Frank Ragnow, I got to say, that guy, warrior, 4-time Pro Bowl player, maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. Like, if we go back to his rookie year, at one point, I think he left the team and was thinking of retiring then as a rookie. And now he's dealing with all sorts of physical challenges. And as he pointed out in his post, it's just too much to overcome. He did everything he could to come back and just couldn't make it. And so it's unfortunate, and we wish Frank the best. He's a really good guy. I had the chance to spend some time with him last summer when the Giants and Lions were doing joint practices. He came over, sat down with my daughter for Nickelodeon. We spent some time before his interview. I had never met him before, and I really enjoyed talking to him. I was sad to see that he is unable to overcome whatever he's dealing with physically to come back. He had an outstanding career. He was a key part of the Lions' success. We wish him the best, but the Lions have a major question mark here in the center interior part of their offensive line this season.
Yeah, I mean, you put a absolute warrior. I'm pretty sure he played almost all of last year with a torn pec too. So it's, the older you get, he mentioned his family and stuff like that in there. It's like, it's tough. You'd like to see a guy like that be able to play 15 plus years, but I mean, he had a broken throat a couple years ago. The first time maybe the first person in the history of the world to suffer that ailment.
I never heard of that. Yeah.
Neither have I.
That's how
And
tough Frank Ragnow is, though, that he could overcome a broken throat.
exactly. And that's what we were saying. Think of how much it hurts to swallow when you think you might have strep throat. This guy had a broken throat eating 3 meals a day. It's crazy. I did see a lot of people saying that the one, reason maybe Lions fans don't need to panic is you got a guy like Jared Goff, who is a veteran who can, set the protections and get that stuff squared away. But also for these quarterbacks who aren't super mobile, we've always seen, like you mentioned it, they're going to be good at tackle. They're probably not going to be giving up too many sacks amongst
Nope.
Penny Sewell and Taylor Decker. But these quarterbacks who aren't going to be getting out of the pocket and moving around, like you want to make them uncomfortable, you get pressure up the middle, over the center, and and through the guards. So we'll see. And then with the coordinators, like it's certainly going to be a challenge. And then to top it all off, the Lions are playing that first place schedule. So like now granted, MCDC is an unbelievable coach. They have enough weapons and enough great players where I don't think we're talking about them falling off the face of the earth, but that's a huge loss for Detroit. That is a huge loss for Detroit, and that'll be something we'll have to keep our eye on moving forward. Let's move on to topic number 5 of this week's Six Pack Shefty. Bryce Huff, after kind of a weird stint in Philadelphia, he's going back to the 49ers via trade, going to reunite with Robert Saleh. What does this Bryce Huff trade do for the 49ers?
I think one of the most under talked about stories of the offseason is the makeover of the 49ers defense. If you look at their defensive line, we're talking about the Lions offensive line there, Ty. If I asked you to name the 49ers starting defensive line today, most people would not be able to name it. And Nick Bosa is the only holdover in San Francisco. I want you to take a look at this. At left tackle, they're going to start Jordan Elliott, who they got, or left defensive tackle from Cleveland. They drafted for right defensive tackle, Alfred Collins. Their right defensive end will be Mikael Williams, their first-round draft pick, who they were hoping to get, who slid to their spot. They trade for Bryce Huff. So literally you could make the argument that 4 defensive linemen that they're going to be counting on this year are new to San Francisco. 4. That doesn't include CJ West, Kevin Givens. Like, they've got a lot of guys here that they're going to be leaning on who weren't a part of this team last year. Elliott, Collins, Williams, and now Huff. Huff gets a chance to go back to Robert Saleh. Now, when Robert Saleh was in New York, Bryce Huff thrived under him. And so the 49ers are banking on the fact that he'll be able to bring that pressure back and help this 49ers defense that lost so many key parts. If there was a team out there that it made sense for Huff to go to, it was the 49ers. He landed in a perfect spot. They need him. He needs them. And now it's time for them to work their magic together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've talked about that quite a bit. Robert Saleh, when he was the DC with the 49ers, I mean, there's a reason he was one of the most sought after, head coaching candidates. His fire, his passion, how good that defense was. So it'll be nice to see him kind of hopefully get that back, going back to a coordinator role. But you're right. I mean, it just, compared to when the Niners were really humming, and it was one of those things where every Sunday when you played them, it was like, hey, you better, get that chin strap latched on tight because they're going to punch you in the mouth and just keep going and going and going. Not to say that couldn't happen with Saleh, but being super young like that, obviously Bosa, he's still incredible, but he's lost a step or two. He's not the same guy he was 4 years ago. It'll be very interesting because that's why they were so good, was because their defense was just, they were held to handle, and they need to get back to that.
And I'll say this, every team undergoes changes in the offseason. Every team comes up with different personnel. But I don't think there's a defensive line that has changed more in the National Football League than the 49ers. And that is a key component as to why they've been successful and why they have a chance to be successful this season if all these players can come together and kind of, I mean, think about all the talent that they've lost. Like Eric Armstead is gone from there.
I mean, Kinlaw, but he was a couple years ago.
They've lost a ton of talent on the defensive line. They've added a lot of new faces, and they're hoping that that helps them get back to their winning ways.
And I guess it is kind of a natural changing of the guard because that happens sometimes when you have to pay a quarterback $50+ million and you give
There
your
you go.
tight end a new big deal and all that kind of like they're kind of saying, hey, we still need the defense to be solid, but like all our money's on offense. We need to go score points, and that's the way we need to kind of control teams and win football games. So we'll see. All right, Shefty, let's move on to the sixth and final topic of this week's six pack. The Los Angeles Rams, they've had quite the offseason. And I think if you look at them in that division, you'd be hard pressed to find a team who's better situated, especially coming off a deep run in the playoffs where they looked great. Why are the Rams leading the way with what they've been doing this offseason, you think?
They think and operate differently than most teams, Ty. And we've seen examples of this during the draft where a couple of years ago they set up the Rams house for the draft. They set it up at a beach house, and I think it was Malibu overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And they literally transport their headquarters to this house overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And it's unbelievable. This year, they moved their headquarters to the LA Fire Department, to a fire department nearby. And that was to show support for all the firefighters who battled all those blazes in the LA area. And they were lending their support, and they wore their fire department hats and shirts all during it was a really cool thing that they took over the fire department to hold their draft. And they've had a great drafting record too, this Rams team. In addition to thinking differently, operating differently, they've succeeded in ways that not everybody does. This year, they're at it again. They're going to do their OTAs, their mini camps in Hawaii. Now, this is brilliant. I think that we're going to see more teams do this because what happens is they get an area to help bring them in financially to help cover the costs so that it's advertising for people to travel there. The team gets a team bonding activity and a trip to this particular place, and it works out for everybody. It's a win for Hawaii. It's a win for the Rams. It's another way for them to think differently. Like, we're used to the league operating almost on a treadmill of regularity. And this team thinks and does things differently. It's great. Every year they do something that makes you think. And they're doing it here again by doing this mini camp now in Hawaii. So we thought it would be kind of cool to get on one of the Rams, last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse, who had 4.5 sacks last year, 75 pressures of the quarterback, was a huge difference maker, helped replace Aaron Donald, who he talks about in this podcast, to talk about what it's like to go to Hawaii and to be a member of the Rams organization. The reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse. How you doing there, Jared?
So I'm smooth. If I was any better, I'd be you. How you doing?
I don't know about that. How's the off season going?
Sure, I ain't gonna lie. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We just getting back into work. I'm loving it even more.
Isn't it nice to have this time of the year be as quiet as it is, right? Like, you appreciate the hours in May and June and 3/4 of July.
Hey, a little bit of July. The most of July. Most of July.
Most of it. What's the coolest thing you've done during your summer break so far, Jared?
I did get to go to Hawaii. That was beautiful. I love Hawaii. I got to go to Japan too. Japan was number one. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. That was my favorite thing.
Have you ever been to Japan before?
Nah, that was my first time. That was my first time. It was a good time though.
What'd you do there? How long were you there for? Tell me a little bit about it.
I took the whole family out there. We was gone for about 10 days. Oh, no, what was it? Yeah, it was 10 days. I took 10 people out there, 10 days. We went to Tokyo first, had a good little time in Tokyo, got to do a bunch of good stuff out there. Then we went to Kyoto for a couple days, too. And my older brother wrestled a sumo wrestler, got his ass whooped. And it was a smooth time.
Really?
It was a smooth time. Man, he technically won because he got him out the circle. But that sumo wrestler, you could tell he just gave it to him.
Wait. Is your older brother a professional wrestler of some sorts?
Hell no. The farthest thing from
So how does he go wrestle a sumo wrestler? How does that happen?
We did like a little thing. They did like a little thing where they go to like a dinner and like there's like a sumo match going on in front of you, and then they like let a couple people. It's like a group thing, so it's like other families there, other people, other groups there, and they let a couple of the other family, like one member of each family, go up there and do their thing. My older brother, man, hey, he talked about, oh, I won, and I looked him in the eyes. I said, you didn't win that. I gave it to you.
Well, why didn't you go up and wrestle the
Nah,
sumo wrestler?
I left the day before, and even if I was there, I wouldn't have done it. I'm not about to get embarrassed. But hey, they got too. They know they weight distribution too well. I ain't about to do it.
Now, you mentioned you went to Hawaii too. Why you bother going to Hawaii when the Rams are going to do mini camp there?
This is before they announced it. I was already halfway on the flight when they announced it. I was like, man, I'm about to get my time in. Had me a time out there. I love Hawaii. Hawaii, my favorite spot now.
What that was that your first time to Hawaii as well?
Yeah, so I went to Hawaii twice actually. I went back. So I went to Kauai first. Love Kauai. Then I went to Maui a little bit after that. Love Maui. I love Hawaii.
And now you're going back for the mini camp. How do you feel about going back to do mini camp, OTAs, whatever it is that you're doing there?
Hey, I couldn't wait to go back. They announced it. I said, y'all joking, quit playing with me. They like, no, we're dead serious. I said, I'm dead serious. Let's have fun. I couldn't wait for it. I was trying to hold it in because I found out before they broke the news. I didn't want to ruin it for everybody, so I was holding it in.
So can you stay and extend your trip to Hawaii this time?
Yeah, so we finished. I think we get there like Tuesday. We there till Friday, but then we got the whole weekend off. So they give everybody the option to extend your trip if you want to stay out there for the weekend.
So you are extending it,
I'm
correct,
extending.
Jared?
I'm gonna be out there the whole time. I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm be in the sun. I'm gonna be having me a time.
You know what you could do? You should lobby Stan and Josh Kroenke and Mr. Kevin Demoff to relocate the franchise from Los Angeles to Hawaii.
Yeah, they gonna trade me the next day. I say I mentioned that. I'll be in a whole new location. I ain't gonna start that one.
What was the best part about being in Hawaii? What did you like most about it?
I ain't gonna lie. So I love juice. I ain't gonna lie. That's like I feel like everybody got a little vice. That's my vice. I love juice. I had some Pog for the first time. What was it? Passion fruit orange guava juice. That was so good. It was so good. It was
Really?
so good. Yeah, it was so good. And then I had I was out there. I went to dinner the one day, and there was a chef there, and he cooked, and he made a brisket ravioli. Chef Diego, best food I've ever had in my life. Like best thing that's ever been in front of me. Like it was so good. I'm one of the people I eat real fast. It was one of those things that he made like 5, 6 ravioli. It took me probably about a half an hour to eat it all because I didn't want it to be gone. Like every time I took a bite, I was sad that it was one less than what I was gonna have. It was delicious. Oh my god.
So you savored that brisket
Oh,
ravioli.
yup. Hey, I reached back out to him. I told him, hey, I said, hey, you still gonna be in it? Hey, me and my teammates coming out there. You might as well come out. Hey, get some of your cooking. Hey, I gotta get out there. That was so good. I miss it every day.
So Diego's going to be seeing all the Rams when you guys come out there?
Sure, he gonna see my group. Yeah, hey, that's for sure. He gonna see the outside linebackers for sure.
So, Jared, when you look back at your rookie year, what stands out most about it to you now?
To me, if I'm being honest with you, it's all the mistakes I made and still was able to make an impact. Like, yeah, I was doing a lot of things, but I probably left around 10 sacks on the field just from a little too inside, a little too this, a little too that, not taking the extra step. And looking at that, I'm like, damn, like, that's not happening no more. So the things that I can do now is a whole different conversation.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me that you left 10 sacks out on the field in a season in which you had 4.5 sacks and 18 quarterback hits and 75 plus pressures as a rookie. So what are we thinking sophomore year sack wise?
Oh, all I know is it's gonna be up. That's all I know because I'm not giving them up like I was last year. I've learned to take that little extra step, keep my feet underneath me. Now I'm taking everything I got this year.
What will
Need
be
all
the
that.
what will be the difference in correcting some of those mistakes, Jared?
It's being more intentional in it. Like my first year, I was kind of like hey, just kind of going out there wild and doing my little thing. Now I realize how important every step is. Everything has to be intentional. You do everything for a reason. Like in the middle of the night, you're not just gonna wake up, walk to your kitchen for no reason, and go to bed. Like you're gonna wake up, go grab a glass of water. Like you gotta be intentional with everything you do.
Or some leftover brisket ravioli.
Hey, that was leftover. Leftover. I don't know what you talking about.
If there's any left over. Now, during your rookie year, the Rams went out on draft day. They drafted your former Florida State teammate, Braden Fisk. And there was that great phone call between you and him in the Rams war room. What do you remember about that phone call and what it was like to team with your former college teammate during your rookie year in Los Angeles?
It was a time. It was so we just landed. Me and my parents just landed, and we rushed it. They're like, "Oh, take your time. Hey, go put your stuff down. We're going to head to the draft house after." I'm like, "Cool." We go. We put our stuff down. We getting called. Like right when we get to our rooms, we're getting calls. Hey, you guys got to hurry up. I'm like, "What's happening?" So we get downstairs. They're like, "Hey, get in the van. Get in the van." Jump into the van. They speed all down the street. We weaving in and out. We go. We breaking traffic laws. I'm like, "Man, this dude gonna get put in jail. We gonna get pulled over. There's ain't no way we about to make it there safely." I'm not watching the draft at all because I'm getting like recorded, so I'm answering questions and stuff. And we get to the draft house. I'm expecting, shake hands, talk to everybody. They're like, run upstairs, run upstairs. I'm running up the steps. I'm about to fall up the steps. I'm tripping up the steps. I get to the front. I see this is my first time meeting Coach McVay. I'm like, what's up? He's like, yeah, like I put my hand out. He's like, hey, speak to your new teammate, Braden Fisk. And like it didn't register in my head. All I heard was new teammate. And I'm like, I said, Fitz, is that you? He's like, yeah, man, what's up? I'm like, well, there ain't no, like, I wanted to cuss really bad. That's just the way I speak. I wanted to really like get out, but I was like, there ain't no damn way. Like, what the hell? Like, it's crazy because me and him just had hit our stride together. Like, we spent the whole season, me and him watch film every day extra. Like, we'd be in the film room from like 5 to 7 p.m. watching extra film on top of our own individual film, all that stuff. So we got a good understanding of each other. So to finally be able to play with him, and like we kept talking about, we were like, but what if we did like we went to the same team and like we like joked about it, and then he was like, nah. I was like, yeah, but there ain't no way they put us on the same team. I was like, the league wouldn't let that happen. That we got put on the same team, and I'm like, yeah, this is bad for people. Like this is about to hurt people.
And it did. And
Yeah.
the Rams defense rebound. Like, who would have thought in a year where they lose Aaron Donald that the defense actually might have been better?
Hey, AD, one of a kind. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, I'll be watching this film. I'm like, damn, if we had AD with us, that'd be something else. But hey, like we just doing the things that we have to do to keep our defense afloat. We just do our 1 of 11. I trust the guys behind us to do our job. Fish trusts me to do mine. I trust him to do his.
Did you have a chance to meet Aaron Donald at all? Did he give you any advice?
Yeah. So I met him actually when I was at Albany. My head coach at Albany was his position coach at Pitt way back when. So during COVID, we got on a Zoom call with him. I got to ask him a question or two, and he gave me some good advice. And I got to meet him after I got drafted. I was at a restaurant out in Malibu, and I'm with my financial advisor. He's like, "Hey, I don't want to make you nervous. Like that's Aaron Donald." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm trying to act super cool. I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's AD." I'm trying to act so cool. I'm over there geeking, and then AD sees me. He goes like, "Come here, come here, come here." I'm like, "All right, I'll be right there." And like, there's like I had to go around the corner to go walk over to him. So I walk around the corner. He can't see me. There's like a big pillar. And I walk around the corner. I'm like, take a little deep breath, walk over. I'm like, what's up, AD? Like, give him a dap of all that. But that's like meeting a living legend. Like, you got to come correct or you can't come at all. So that was a good moment.
Now, what was the advice that he gave you during the COVID year?
So he
Yeah.
told me, I said, like, what kind of moves should you really add to your bag? He said, you really only need 3 moves. All you need is a power move, a counter, and a speed move. If you have those 3 moves, you good. You don't need to have 1,000 moves. You don't need to have this move, that move. You don't need a inside counter, spin move outside with a hump inside. Like, just do your 3 moves, add in a couple twists here and there, and then you good. And I was like, man, that's good. Because I was trying to add in too many moves at the time. So I was like, that's all it is. That's all it is.
And after meeting him again in Malibu, were you able to stay in touch with him this year, or was that just a one-time encounter where you haven't had much contact with him since moving to Los Angeles?
No, I'll reach out to Adad and I'll talk to him here and there. He comes to a bunch of he'll come to like our practices. He'll come to our joint practices. When we do this or that, he's around. So hey, every time I see him, I talk to him. I catch up with him. Hey, that man strong as hell. He dapped me up the first time. I thought he about broke my hand.
You can't work out with him during the offseason at all, Jared?
Nah, he don't want that. He not ready for that.
He's not ready for that.
He not ready for that. Hey, that little 500 bench he had. Hey, he not ready for that. Hey, I'll be moving weight. I'll be moving weight.
Oh, so he can't keep up with you right now?
Hey, whenever he ready for a workout, man, I be seeing his little Instagram post with the bench and dumbbell bench. Hey, and he can get me whenever he ready.
Jared, what was the one thing you learned as a rookie that you didn't expect about life in the NFL?
Oh, that's a good question. I ain't gonna lie, that's a good one. One thing I didn't expect. It's probably about how much people love this game. Like you see, like you hear a lot of people talk about like, oh yeah, I love this game and I love this, that, the third. But like people love because it's a job at the end of the day. People love their family so much that they put so much work into it so that their family never has to want for anything. And to be able to like kind of realize that and realize, oh, people aren't just doing it just because they love the game, but it's also the external factors in there. They got a girlfriend, they got a wife, they got kids, they got a mom, they got a dad, they got to do all this other stuff. When I just genuinely play because I love the game. So everyone
Mhm.
kind of got their own reason to play and their own thing that kind of drives them, and to kind of see that, I'm like, all right, so this is what it is. Like you got to kind of find your own niche for it.
Who was somebody that surprised you that you didn't realize how much love for the game that a person could have? Like somebody in your organization? Anybody?
It's probably McVay. It's probably McVay because I've encountered great coaches across my whole career. Some of the best coaches I'm blessed to have played for. But McVay, the way he sees the game and the way he views everything is insane. Like the defense has like 100 something plus plays. The offense has 100 something plus plays. There's 11 people on offense and defense each, and like he can tell you what each person's doing on each of their plays. He can tell you about the play. 3 years ago, play 29 against the Seahawks on the left hash when Stafford threw the ball this high to like two like it's all this crazy stuff. I'm like, bro, how do you like what's up with you? Like, you okay? But like his love for the game, like it fuels him. Like his energy is always the same. It's contagious. He loves the game. Like that's somebody I genuinely like look up to in that fact.
Well, he loves the game. He's got the energy, and that memory is insane, right? Like
Crazy as hell.
you never met anybody like that, right, Jared?
I've met people with great memories across the world. I've never met nobody with a memory like his.
Yeah.
Like he remembers everything. Like he put so much work into like the way that he does love the game. Like the other day, I'm not really good with names. Like that's kind of like my really bad thing. I'm not good with remembering names. I'm not good with all that stuff. But with him, he made sure me and another one of my teammates knew every rookie's name. He's like, you gotta realize how important it is to them if you know their name and go out your way to actually make sure they're good. So it was to see like that's the level of commitment that he has. He puts that same standard on us. It was like, all right, this is a great, not just a good coach, but a great person to be around.
So, Jared, honest, have you learned all your rookies' names yet?
Yeah, it took me a little minute. I ain't gonna lie to you. It took. Compared to, I wasn't planning on learning them at all. I was planning on like, just casually kind of figuring them out as time went on. But hey, I learned that like, hey, he told me that day. The next day I came in, I could tell you every rookie's name.
So, Sean might have been the most impressive person you encountered your rookie year. Was there one offensive lineman you went up against who impressed you with his talents?
Like on my team or like anyway.
Anywhere, anyway, it could be your team, it could be an opposite, it could be an opponent.
Honestly, not really. There wasn't no too many offensive linemen that kind of like I looked at and I was like, oh damn, this is gonna be a challenge. I will say this: Deion Dawkins did get my number that game. He because I'm such a power rusher. At the time, I was such a power rusher that he's so good with his hands and knocking you down that it put me in a blender that I didn't know really what to do. And like I didn't want to rush too high because you got Josh Allen back there. Like you don't want to rush too high against Josh Allen. You got to kind of be wary of that. So he could play the game really well. Deion's somebody I do look at, to when I'm studying film to be like, all right, how can I defeat this? Deion was really good. Trent Williams, I didn't get to go up against him too much, but he kind of I low key say he kind of gave me my welcome to the NFL moment.
And what was that welcome to the NFL moment?
It wasn't anything like where I got thrown to the ground like some dudes get something like that. It was just like I've always been the strongest dude around, so I've never had to worry about like kind of getting thrown around or this, that, the third. I do an inside move on we're running a blitz on the outside, so I'm getting into the B gap. They run the outside zone. Was not McAfee, whatever his name, whoever the running back was bouncing out to the outside. I get into the B gap. He seals me off. And I'm like trying to rush. I'm trying to get off the tackle. So usually I can just lift their hands up, no problem. Like I'm just a lot stronger than everybody. I try to lift Trent hands up and budge. It didn't move one bit. I'm like trying to move them. I'm chopping them down. I'm moving them. And I'm like, bro, let go of me. And Trent got like a deep voice. I'm like, Trent, let go of me. He's like, ha ha ha, bro, you funny as hell. And then the next day we watch a film and coach is like, Jared, you gotta get off this block. And I'm just like, yeah, coach, I'll be better. But Loki wanted to just say, I tried. Like, I couldn't. Like, I don't know what the dude's strong. Like,
Did you say anything to Trent or Dion after your games against them?
I didn't get to speak to Trent after our game, but I did get to speak to Dion after. I got to tell me and him were having like we were getting back after like we were verbally assaulting each other. So I ran up to him after the game and I said, "Hey, bro, good game." He's definitely somebody I look at and I'm like, that's a dog. The way he worked, the way he played the game is something I idolize. That's something I like about him.
You mentioned your strength. Where does your strength come from, Jared?
So it's just like I constantly work out. Like that's my number one thing. That's the thing I love. I love you can be great at anything as long as you love the process. And I love the process more than anything. Like I love being on the field, hearing the fans shout my name, making big plays, screaming all that, all that jazz. But I love being in the weight room. I love being on the field. I love that more than anything else. So when I'm in there, I'm really intentional with everything I do. So I probably work out like we already did a workout. We already hit the field. I'm about to go back to the gym a little bit after this. So like I just love putting in that extra work. I love being strong with everybody.
So you already worked out today, and now we're going back to work out more.
We got another one. We got big goals this year.
What are the goals this year?
Hey, obviously, all right, hold up that one. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm about to say, hey, I don't want to jinx nothing. Hey, you know what it is to hold it up.
Hey, you know what? You just keep putting in the work, and all those goals will come true there, Jared.
That's all we got to do.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Hey, I understand why you were a success your rookie year. I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me today. Look forward to watching you this year, and enjoy your upcoming trip to Hawaii for the third time.
I can't wait. That biscuit ravioli calling my name. I can't wait.
And Ty, that's a great guy. Like this guy is engaging. This guy, you could tell, has a bright NFL future. Like he's talking down to Aaron Donald right there. He's talking about how much stronger he is than Aaron Donald, who we know is a beast. So whenever you get that, that's pretty awesome to see. Also, want to just express my condolences to you and your city on the loss of Jim Irsay. I was at game one of the Knicks Pacers. Jim Irsay had tweeted hours before wishing the Pacers luck. And then hours later, he's gone. And what a great man and what a larger than life president. Somebody who was remembered this week with the funeral service, had such a huge impact on your city, gave so much to so many that people didn't realize, had a huge heart, a huge personality. Sad to see him go. And I know we played in this particular spot last week. We had sat down with Jim Irsay for, 45 minutes, an hour at the 2017 NFL owners meetings in Phoenix. I remember walking with him to his suite there, sitting down, and we had to edit it down, the conversation. I think I was there a couple of hours with him and I think in those 2 hours, I might have asked him, Ty, 3 questions.
Yep.
Okay. Just all over. And I'm hearing about him visiting Jim Morrison's grave and buying Jack Kerouac's manuscript, like all kinds of things. And by the way, in that conversation, and it speaks to his longevity and presence, he was talking about how George Halas was at his confirmation and his wedding. George Halas, the owner of the Bear, Papa Bear, attended Jim Irsay's wedding. Think about that. Was at his confirmation. It tells you how long he was around, how much he meant to the league, the people he knew, the life he led. And we express our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Jim Irsay, the city of Indianapolis, on his loss. He was a tremendous man, and that was devastating news.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Irsay a couple times. He came on the show, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people took pot shots. He certainly had his demons, and they thought he was just kind of a caricature. But if you really got to know him and listen to, I mean, he was a brilliant guy, and the philanthropy. I mean, that's what he cared about, was giving back to people. He knew how lucky he was to kind of amass the fortune that he had, and he wasn't trying to keep it for himself. Like, you mentioned the stuff with obviously the Jim Irsay collection, all the crazy things he bought. A lot of wealthy people, they'll buy those things and you just throw them in your house, and no one, like, his whole thing was, no, I want to travel this around. I want people to be able to see these kind of things, and truly one of one. Yeah, there will never be another Jim Irsay. That's for sure.
Did you see the way his players talked about him last week? The people in the Colts organization, that tells you just about everything that you need to know.
Speaks volumes. Exactly.
Right? That speaks volumes right there. And again, our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Jim Irsay, the city of Indianapolis. He will be missed. All right, we'll be back in this spot next week. Speaking of great people, great men, Jack Harbaugh, the father of Jim and John. We sat down with him in October to do a piece for ESPN, a piece that ran in November about the Harbaugh brothers. And Jack and Jackie were kind enough to invite me into their home in Ann Arbor. We spent a full day there with them. And when I taped that interview in October, I said, we have to play this back on Father's Day when he offers all these tips about being a father and reflecting on the lives of the Harbaughs and how they got to where they were. And so next week for Father's Day, ahead of Father's Day, we're going to release the interview with Jack Harbaugh. Now, the interview with the brothers and the dad won an Emmy. They won an Emmy. So it was kind of cool. And as good as the brothers, Jim and John, were together, the dad, with all due respect, might have been even better. So in this spot next week, we're going to play an extended version of Time and Lessons with Jack Harbaugh, the father of Jim and John, and it is worth listening to. Until then, we'll be back in this spot next week. I want to thank Jared Verse, the NFL's reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year. Thank you, Ty Schmit, for being the MVP of another weekly six-pack. Thank you to the great Christina Buswell, who we welcome back with Dan Stanzik on paternity leave. We miss Dan, and we are grateful to Christina. We want to thank you, the listener, for tuning into another Adam Schefter podcast. We'll be back in this spot next week with the great Jack Harbaugh. Until then, have a great week, everybody. Be well and stay safe.